So Alabama and Nick Saban are having their junior day this weekend, and to the surprise of college football fans nowhere, it is absolutely loaded with some of the nation's best prospects, something we can come to expect. We know how Alabama recruits, just look at the class they're coming off of. Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide want to maintain that number one ranking and follow up last year's strong class with yet another strong class, and because of that, we have got to break down some of the names on this list. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe Nick Saban and Alabama can exit this weekend in the lead for some of these top prospects? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem really small, but they truly are massive to content creators such as myself, and we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I'd love to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as I stated in the intro, I think at this point, if you've been a fan of college football and if you've followed college football recruiting, you're not surprised in the least whenever you take a look at one of these lists from Alabama hosting an event, and it is loaded with some of the nation's top prospects. Alabama is just one of those institutions that recruits at such an elite level year in, year out. Not long ago, we took a comprehensive look at how Alabama has recruited over the past 6 years, and it is really insane to see the success Nick Saban has been able to have, but also maintain. Being able to get a number one recruiting class, we've seen institutions do this. Maintaining that level of recruiting, well, that's just incredible. But now let's get into this list, because there are several prospects I know Alabama fans are going to be very excited about. And let's start with an Alabama commit. Five-star cornerback, five-star, really, if I was ranking, he'd be a five-star athlete, Jalen Mbakwe. Because this dude right here can do it all. You turn on the film, and he is very gifted at corner, but his ability to play wide receiver is telling. His ability to be a threat with the ball in his hand is telling, and this dude right here can straight up fly. He has got speed that you just can't teach, and I know Alabama fans are very excited that he's already a part of this class. One thing I talk about at length, I love whenever these institutions have these events and some of the guys who are already in this recruiting class show up, because not only does it further their relationship with the staff, it helps the staff be able to maintain those relationships, and relationships are everything in recruiting, but it can also help the relationship with the other prospects that are yet committed and thinking about it, because now they look, and one of the top prospects in all of high school football, a top 25 player in the nation regardless of position, is currently committed to Alabama. And if you get a good rapport with him, that could help Alabama's chances at landing some of these other guys. Now, it's not guaranteed. There's no science here. This is all just based on relationships, but because relationships are so key, I love anytime you get these events, getting in guys that are already committed. I think it just helps lay that foundation at a much deeper level. But Jalen Mbakwe is not the only five-star set to be in attendance. A position that Alabama has absolutely hoarded over the last few years, edge, is also set to have a five-star in attendance in Dylan Stewart, one of the top prospects in the nation. And like I've said for a while now, if you can point me to a room in college football as loaded as that Alabama edge room, you're probably pointing me to the Texas A&M defensive line over what they've been able to do recruiting over the past few years. That room is very impressive, the collection of talent they've had. But when we really dive into the edge room with Alabama, you're talking about five-star Chris Braswell, you're talking about five-star Dallas Turner, you're talking about five-star Jeremiah Alexander, you're talking about five-star Yonze Pierre, you're talking about five-star Keon Keeley, you're talking about blue-chip four-star Keanu Cott. Where do you want me to keep going? That room is so smack dab loaded that I cut the list off right there, because I'd already proved my point. I'd already painted the picture. That room is so loaded, and every single year they keep seeming to add in more talent in that room. It is head-spinning. We know Alabama can recruit at an elite level, but for them to be able to stack edges the way they have over the past few cycles, it is so impressive. Remember, Drew Sanders came into that recruiting class with Will Anderson and Chris Braswell. Alabama successfully recruited 3 five-star edges in one cycle. That's wild. That's wild, and they continue doing it right here. Dylan Stewart, five-star edge. But another five-star is in attendance in a position group I'm really interested in, because I think this cycle and next cycle have got some really sneaky good playmakers at the wide receiver position, and Ryan Wingo is one of them. Five-star wide receiver set to be in attendance for the Crimson Tide, something you love. Because one thing Alabama fans cannot wait is for their receiver commit in 2025 to finally arrive on campus, because that dude right there is lightning personified. But in the meantime, getting a guy such as a Ryan Wingo to come on campus for a visit is going to be absolutely paramount. This is an area where I'm really interested to see what Alabama does. Look, one thing we've talked about at length all last season, to begin the season and throughout the season, I thought there was talent in that wide receiver room. I just thought that, one, it was inconsistent talent, which that's a problem. I'm not going to shy away from that. That is a problem if the consistency isn't there. Because you can be as talented as you want to be, but if you're not consistent, it really doesn't mean as much as it should. But I thought that part of the reason for the inconsistencies was the lack of experience. And that's something I'm really hoping is fixed this next season, because so many of those guys, they have experience now. We talked about it. Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, they have experience now. And then you add in a Malik Benson. So I'm interested to see the foundation Alabama's going to be laying through recruiting in that wide receiver position. I just think that that's an area where they're going to look to hit and hit hard. And let's stick on the offensive side of the ball for two more prospects, a wide receiver and then an offensive lineman. And let's start with the wide receiver, because Kobe Young may be a 3-star prospect out the state of Louisiana, but I would bet he will finish as a blue chip 4-star prospect. Remember the name. Whenever you turn on the film, it's very obvious this is a very, very, very gifted prospect. And one of the things that I find so intriguing is Young played multiple positions in high school, whether that was on defense or offense, and even in that, he was playing multiple different positions on the defensive side of the ball. He was playing multiple different positions on the offensive side of the ball, granting him a better understanding of the game of football as a whole, and I do find that to be a compelling factor. We've talked about this before on lives and videos. I think having an understanding of multiple different positions helps your ability to be able to transition coming out of high school, because it just gives you different perspectives and it helps you understand your assignment, because you can understand how the person across from you is thinking. So I love that. I love that he brings that versatility to the table. But whenever you turn on the film, specifically at wide receiver, very, very talented prospect, whether he's high pointing the ball, making big time plays. This is a dude that Alabama's very lucky they get in, and it is a name you have absolutely got to remember, because I think he would be on a short list of underrated prospects during the class of 2024. So remember the name Kobe Young. But also, now we need to talk about an offensive lineman, because this is an area where, look out in the coming weeks, we'll be releasing a dedicated video breaking down the offensive line competition that we're going to see, because that is going to be an interesting one, and I'm super intrigued to see what Wolford is going to continue working on. But it needs to continue happening in recruiting as well. And anytime you're able to get in blue chip offensive linemen, sign me up. I love that. That's an area where Alabama will continue to give a bunch of attention to, and deservedly so. So awesome that they get in Ethan Callaway for a visit this weekend. But let's talk about some more defensive guys. How about a 4-star linebacker in Bradley Shaw? An area where Alabama is going to be recruiting very hard, but I'm really interested to see how new defensive analyst Charlie Strong is able to kind of help this linebacker battle going forward, and by extension, the linebacker recruiting going forward. That's something I'm really interested in watching. Something we're going to be talking about much further on this evening's live stream, 5:30 Central Standard Time. Be sure to check that out. We'll really be diving into the Charlie Strong hire, because that's going to be an interesting one. Now, one of the names that I have been dying to talk about is another 5-star on the defensive line, Dominic McKinley. And one thing, if you would have tuned into this channel at all over the past year, you'll know I was saying Alabama needed to hit that interior defensive line hard last cycle, and they did a stellar job. But why stop there? If you have a Dominic McKinley who's wanting to commit to your class at a 5-star defensive lineman, you take him. You do not hesitate. You take him. You take him twice on Sundays. This dude right here is going to be a force. Mark my words. Remember the name. I understand he's already a 5-star, so he's already a household name in theory. Just do me this favor. Remember the name. He is going to be a very gifted prospect. And furthermore, what's more, they have 5-star wide receivers visiting in the class of 2025. Nick Saban always making sure these events are loaded and as loaded as they can. But I can't wait to hear from all of you. There are several names we didn't get to cover. We will be doing so more on tonight's live stream, 5:30 Central Standard Time. Can't wait to see you over there. But until then, hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know the prospects you're most interested in. That's it. See ya.